Hello, you lovelies. It has been a chaotic week here at Dragon Wagon Radio. We've had quite the week, both of us separately and together, so this week will be a little on the lighter side, but we were not about to let you hear nothing in your ear holes on a Wednesday.
We should have canceled.
Oh my God, should we have? I've had a stressful day. You've had a stressful day. We should have canceled.
But we didn't want to leave you guys with 2 weeks of nothing because we will not be here next week.
Because I am traveling next week, and honestly, that's what we should have done this week. And to be honest, we even texted. There's receipts of maybe the graphic this week should be the text.
Maybe we should have just canceled like normal people.
Like we literally were texting about because I'm here 2 hours after the later side of the plan, and I'm immediately going to 3 other things, and I'm flying tomorrow. And Jake's moving. Like this was dumb.
Yeah, we are in the Dragon's Den 2.0 right now.
It's dope, man.
We're in the new spot, but we're not. It's not an official.
It's brand new.
Like I painted. We got paint on the walls. Yep. I have a pop-up desk.
It's very cute.
And you've got the cozy couch, but we are not like, this is real makeshift today.
Real makeshift. But it is already cozy, and I will say that's rare. When you're moving in, usually the move-in feels weird. It doesn't. It's nice.
We still don't have internet, even though the guy was just left here.
Literally, I'm so glad I came late.
3 minutes ago, the guy, I walked the technician out to go
as I walked in
to go get Coy, give him a parking pass to bring him in.
That dicey.
And we still don't have it, even though the tech was here for 2 hours. So way to go, Spectrum.
This is not a Spectrum ad.
Spectrum,
it is everything but.
For all your internet needs, try Charter Spectrum.
Try whatever the competition is, because frankly, it's been a thing.
But we're here. We're in the new spot. We're in the Dragon's Den 2.0.
I'm digging it.
It's been a very, very, very chaotic week. Luckily, there is that crossover where we do have access to the old place, so it's not like we needed to be out of one place and in the new place in a day, because that's really stressful when you're like this is our last day here and it's our first day here. Like,
dude, that crossover has been, I mean, relationships end. Like that is one of the worst things you can do with someone is have to have a 1 day move.
Right.
I've done that with 2 relationships, and they both lasted 3 years, I think, because we knew we survived that. I think they both were like, well, we did that 1 day together.
Right.
Which
That's
means
true.
we can do anything.
We could do anything. So we do still have there is still stuff in the old spot. And we have, but we have pretty much through the month. So it's like, it's not that big of a deal. But
I half thought we'd be there today.
So did I, to be quite honest with you.
Is there internet there?
No. Okay. Listen, you brought me back to internet, which now I made it so specific that like we were going to be in on Thursday of last week, and we needed it to be off in one and on in the other.
Yep.
Because Alexandra works from home.
Yeah, she needs it.
Spoiler alert, today is Monday.
Ah, yes.
Last Thursday, we were supposed to have this all hooked up and ready to go. So she has been working with a mobile hotspot in an area where the mobile service is not that great for a few days. Yeah, anyways. But we're here.
Don't love it.
We're also in a very big, empty, echoey room. So if we sound like we are in a hall,
it's because
there's nothing in the room
to the space.
There's nothing in the room right now.
We're very sorry.
But listen, this is it's an exciting week. Are you excited for your trip back home?
Yeah, I'm going to Boston, and frankly, you're going to hear me maybe with an accent next time we record, because that does tend to happen, as you know, with New York.
Oh yeah, I get off the phone with my cousin and just like, what happened?
Yeah, it's pretty immediate, and I plan to spend at least a little bit of time in Southie. Like I want to go back to my Boston, so I'm curious what comes of that. I also haven't had, this is the first vacation I've taken where I haven't scheduled every single day. I called my buddy I'm going to visit, and I'm like, what are we doing on blankety blank? And he's like, I'm busy, bro. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I've never had a trip where I'm not regulated.
Oh,
so
really?
It's going to be weird for me to just like be.
Yeah, I'm
not good at being.
I made a decision years ago when I was going back to visit New York, because I have so many, so my family's lots of branches.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, I got to go see my sister's family. I got to go see my godparents. And like, these are people who aren't necessarily close with each other because I'm the tying factor.
Yeah.
Like they're not relatives, but they're both relatives of me. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it made it so that every trip home was like every single day. I had no time to just be home.
Yeah.
And I made it a point like years ago where every time I go home, it's like, okay, I'm staying with my godparents. It's like, great, I get to see my godparents. I'm going to schedule like one dinner with my sister. And then I tell everybody like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be at the bowling alley. We're gonna go bowling Friday night.
Yep.
If you want to see me,
make it or not.
If you want to see me, that's where I'll be.
Love that.
And I started doing like, so it's not necessarily always bowling, but bowling is a good one because people can come and hang out, but not participate
or not.
Whereas there's some things, it's not like I'm gonna be like, let's go to a movie and nobody's gonna talk to me.
And you know what I mean? Sitting there and it's cost them $20.
Right. Yeah. So that's a really good cheat.
I'm doing pizza place.
Pizza place is a great cheat.
That's what I'm doing. Because you can also sit at a pizza place. Also, I need that pizza. Like
fair.
it's selfish, but also I need
because
that pizza.
everybody knows Boston's really known for their pizza.
You know what? It's better than LA pizza, dude. You can give me that. I'll give you your New York credit, but I will take Boston pizza over anything LA outputs.
You're not wrong.
So I'm gonna say my local pizza place, Family Pizza, is going to be my hub, and I'm just gonna like send out like a time, and whoever shows up. Because worst case scenario, I'm by myself with my favorite pizza.
Sure,
worst case
that's
scenario.
fair. And I just think that is a good way. It's a good catch-all.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, every single friend is like, let's grab coffee. Let's grab lunch.
Do you have a place you go that feels weird of how much sentimentality it has?
Everything, every place.
Mine's
Long
a grocery
Island.
store.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Like walking grocery store aisles that used to as a kid messed me up emotionally.
For me, it's mostly the street, Deer Park Avenue on Long Island, because like that avenue, my life existed within that 2 mile strip of, and like it changes so much from year to year. And the last time I've been there, I was like, I just like driving up and down and people like family members laugh at me. I'm like, hey, can we just go drive Deer Park?
I do it every time. Every time I visit,
they're like,
I park and walk what I used to walk.
Yeah, right.
I like it. So the pizza place is on the half mile, so I park there, get pizza, so I'm not loitering, and then I just walk around with my pizza, and I'm the happiest.
Also, this is pertinent to this specific brand of podcast, and also sad is where World of Fantasy, my old comic shop, used to be.
Oh, no.
Because it's a really unique spot. It's in a strip mall like everything is on Long Island.
Yeah.
But it's next to a small alley that cuts through the strip mall. So it's the only storefront that isn't flat. It's the one that goes at a 45-degree angle. So all of the storefronts are flat. And then at one point, one store cuts at a 45-degree angle inwards.
Yeah.
And then that meets like this little alley. And what I would do is I would tie my bike up in the back or, park in the back when I had a car and then walk through the alley.
Yeah.
And so I would do that. I'll still drive and I'll come through and I'll like turn the corner, but then it's like a smoke shop or whatever dumb
Mine's
shit it is.
Domino's now. Mine's literally bad pizza on the East Coast.
Okay, but wait a minute. Domino is a comic book character. Maybe there's a tie-in.
I mean, totally is. Rob Liefeld made that comic store. Actually, Rob and Larry are friends, which is
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles eat a lot of pizza.
That's totally true. And he's from Boston. There it is, guys. It's all canon.
Yeah.
Rob and Larry. Larry's Comics was my shop. It was on Lakeview Ave and Lowell, and Rob and Larry are friends. So the Domino's, I'm going to say, is that. Let's go there. Also, people listening to this podcast for the first time, we usually don't talk about the streets that we're from, but in this case, this pop culture pod didn't have a lot of news this week, and we're both nostalgic.
Listen, there's a lot going on in our lives.
So we're just going to feel it.
I've been out of our old location for like 3 days, and I'm already like, oh, Burbank.
Remember Burbank? Remember the streets of Burbank? It's weird when you move somewhere like you'd lived there forever.
I've been in Burbank for over 10 years.
And you were in that apartment for like 6?
Yeah, 6,
That's
7.
substantial, man. That's
like
crazy.
7, like just about 7, I think.
That's a life. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah. Well, here
it
we are.
It was the birth of Dragon Wagon Radio in that place.
Right.
This is going to be the. In fairness, though, by the way, did you notice the setup? This is where they'll.
Oh, I know where it's coming.
Yeah.
It looks great in here.
Yeah.
This is so rad.
Yeah,
I mean,
the new
I
studio
immediately
space is gonna
thought
be
like
sweet.
it's gonna be great to have guests.
Yeah, it's gonna be
when
sweet.
it's safe. Like that's gonna be really rad once things are cozy because this is like a much more conducive to podcasting space.
Sure.
Like it's just like
here we are.
It
It feels like studio. It's not our living room anymore.
Yeah, which like you made the living room into the studio, but I felt bad that you sacrificed your living room. Whenever we were there, I was like, the man lost his living room.
Also, it would take me an hour to set up and break down every day. And now I don't have to do that.
That's amazing. I don't have to call and be like, hey, it's going to be, and like, have you like frantically, or like when you're half set up and you're like, sorry. And I'm like standing there, like, what do I do with my hands? So yeah, this is a dope spot. Well, let's get into some news.
Anyways, let's talk about what's going on in the world of popular culture.
Not a ton of news, but like we said, we didn't want to bring you guys 2 weeks of silence. So let's give you some of the highlights. And this is the stuff that's more recent because by the time you hear it, we don't want it to be null and void.
Sure.
That said, my favorite bit of news of the week is Spot is going to be in Into the Spiderverse. The really cheesy villain Spot with the like black, then Spider-Man punches through and he goes to that Spot,
when
dude?
you said that earlier and I was like, I don't think I know who this is.
Dude, the white, all white suit.
Is it going to be
like a Dalmatian?
Here's my question. Is it going to be... Is it a character that's just going to be squeezed in like a fun little cameo?
I feel like they put him in the promotional stuff early enough. He might be in it.
Right.
Like I feel like he'll be one of the contingent villains.
Okay, because I do think that there's something, and we can crap on every version of every Spider-Man movie of all time, however we want. But the one thing that I give Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that I always said it bugs me that every superhero movie is like, here's the big bad villain, right? And when you open a comic, when you open any issue of Spider-Man, most of them start with like him like taking out or stopping a very brief crime of some low level.
I love that.
The fact that Rhino
they got that tone right.
And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, he's like, it starts and it's like, oh, this is just another day of me fighting crime.
Yeah, and that
it's
set
like,
piece is incredible.
And then the story begins.
Yeah. And then when it ends, you feel like you're going to another comic.
I really dug that.
Yeah,
I really dug that.
Yeah, you can give Andrew Garfield like all the roses. That movie had some moments.
The reason I bring that up though is I wonder if that's going to be what Spot is.
Because like that character I've always wanted to see on screen because it's very cinematic. If you think about the powers.
Sure.
Like I want to see Spider-Man punch through the dude and his fist come out somewhere else. And especially in that animated style they do, I can totally see like frames of weirdness.
Right.
And Spider-Verse is so portally already. So I think that's going to be perfect. They also announced that one of my favorite character actors that pops up in everything. If you don't know this dude's name, you know his face. Shea Whigham.
I don't know his name.
But look him up. I guarantee you know that he's got great work. Like he's one of those actors.
Shea Whigham.
S-H-E-A.
Not every. This can't be a real name.
That's a real name. Shea Whigham. He is George Stacy, and I think he's gonna crush.
Whigham.
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 W-H-I-G. For those playing along at home. S-H-E-A.
Yeah, he's Irish.
Very Irish.
W-I-G.
Whigham.
Whigham.
And I totally
you know that guy, right? He's in everything. He's one of those guys and he's always good. Like he's a good actor, but nobody like he's one of those characters.
Yeah.
So he is George Stacy. I think that's perfect. And then Jorma Taccone is Vulture.
Another name I don't know.
You'll know his face.
Now that one I don't even know how to guess the spell.
Jorma-Taccone. You'll definitely
Jorma Taccone.
You know this man. Like you probably are a fan of this man.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He's from the Lonely Island.
Yeah.
Right?
He's Vulture.
Isn't he one of the Lonely Island dudes?
He's one of the Lonely Island dudes. Which is, I'm really curious what a young Jorma Taccone is going to be with the Vulture. I mean, that's like an old man voice to me. They could do that de-aging thing, that storyline with the...
But also, like, it's voices.
It's voices.
You could just be young or old.
But
there's no limit to voices.
You can hear some age in a voice. You can hear a little gravelly, a little weathered.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. Obviously, we were supposed to get it in a couple months. It got pushed to next year. I'm hearing incredible things. Sony has started to screen it for like certain executives and things that are all like, obviously they can't tell me what they thought, but everyone I know that saw screenings before they moved it, loved, like just out of their minds, excited.
Like they're still doing a good job.
Which is saying a lot because the first one kind of came out of nowhere.
It's a high bar. Not only to come out of nowhere, but it's
the best Spider-Man movie.
It's one of those movies that I don't go, let's just end it. Let's just move on. It's so good.
But if they can do 3 of these this good.
I think that if anything, the first one, I think we have that reaction to movies because we have PTSD of how bad sequels can be, right?
But that's better now.
Right. But it's getting better now. And also, the first movie proved how good this team does with this material.
And Mitchell's versus the Machine showed it wasn't a fluke.
Trust them. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So in between them, Mitchell's is like, this team isn't just like a one-trick pony.
Right.
And I do trust. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Speaking of sequels, have you caught Top Gun Maverick?
No, I told you it was going to be a post-move thing.
Yeah, totally get that.
But I spoke with my buddy, Matt from D&W, and he was like, I will go see it as many more times. So I know I at least have somebody to go with.
That's great.
Because I'm assuming it's still going to be in theaters for another 3 weeks.
It's got legs, dude.
Yeah, so my assumption is that we're recording this on Monday, the 16th? What's today? 13th. This comes out on the 16th.
Yes.
My assumption is by the end of this week, I will have the slightest semblance of normalcy in my daily routine.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the past couple of weeks, my daily routine has been absolute chaos.
Cannot imagine.
My hands are sore from holding things. Like I literally from holding paint because I painted the entire apartment. It's like, just from moving boxes, like everything that when you're moving, everything is you grabbing something.
Yep.
And
you don't realize
my hands are sore like
you've been lifting for days because you've been lifting for days.
Yeah, but it's like I've never had this sort of hand pain though. Like it's like everything about it sucks. My hands just suck. They suck.
How are your quads?
I'm fine. I'm mostly fine elsewhere.
Okay,
I lift good.
When I move, my legs always get me, but it's usually like stairs. It's usually like cumulative.
It's for me. It's the feet. My feet hurt and my hands hurt. I'm like a little old man.
I really enjoy we opened this pod with walking our old streets, and now we're into the like, how you quads doing with the move?
Listen,
that's on me. I'm just acknowledging our old man pod.
Tune in next week when we play Guess Who Died?
Did you drink your prune juice this week? There's actually, speaking of old and wonderful things, Paddington officially.
We're getting 3?
We're getting 3. Not only are we getting 3, but they announced the title, which reveals a key plot point. Paddington 3 is called Paddington in Peru. Going back to Peru.
Paddington in Peru.
We're going to darkest Peru, you lovelies. We just attached a director. We are getting the director of Timothy Chalamet's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, who I obviously have not seen that film yet, but I'm very, very optimistic if he did well there. Dougal Wilson. Award-winning Dougal Wilson for Paddington's third film.
Dougal or Dougal?
Do you pronounce it?
I have heard the name Dougal before. I've never heard the name Dougal.
It's like Dougal. That looks like Dougal.
Yeah, maybe you're probably right. Sounds like there's no way that's not somebody's D&D character.
Dougal?
Yeah.
Good old Dougal. So the plot is apparently that oh wait, hold on, not the plot. The original director, the magical, incredible original Paul King said, quote, "After 10 years of working on the Paddington movies, I feel absurdly protective of the little bear, and I'm delighted that Dougal, or Dougal, will be there to hold his paw as he embarks on his third big screen adventure. Dougal's work is never less than astounding. Funny, beautiful, heartfelt, imaginative, and totally original. Aunt Lucy once asked us to please look after this bear. I know Dougal will do so admirably."
One, that's adorable.
He just broke my heart with a plot passing.
This is risky, though.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Because if we're going... Not only are we swapping the team a little bit, but the charm of Paddington is the bear in the city.
Yeah.
So if we're going back to the jungle,
how are those hijinks? Are we bringing the family?
That's what I'm thinking.
Bring the family.
Is it a reverse fish out of water story?
I think we're going back with Aunt Lucy. Like, we got to get Aunt Lucy home, maybe, or visit Aunt Lucy in our old folks' home.
And it's about the family dealing with the jungle. And for once, Paddington's not the odd bear out.
Yeah, maybe the humans are the odd bears out.
But also, I feel like him as the odd bear out is what makes it so sweet and cute.
Well, that's what I'm curious about.
I don't know. No matter what, it's gonna be great.
I mean,
even if it's bad, it's gonna be great.
It's still Paddington. But the problem is, it's even, I think, maybe even higher than Spiderverse, because Spiderverse won 5 stars. Paddington 1 and 2, inexplicably 5 stars.
It's we've proven that it's a slightly different time.
That's true. So this guy's directed 21 things according to his IMDb. Most of them are shorts and music videos. I don't see any feature films.
Interesting.
So he's got.
Are you on his IMDb?
I am on IMDb.
I'll look at the letterbox because it'll be more clear.
Yeah, he's got some music videos.
Spell it again for me.
Dougal, Dougal Wilson.
GAL. Got it.
So that is our big Paddington news. As you guys know, little matters more to me than Spider-Man and Paddington.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
So he has one film. Oh, and it is indeed a short. Yeah, he's got no.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty.
They're
crazy.
trusting Dougal with big paws to fill.
Damn.
He's got a big jacket with beautiful wooden fasteners to put on. I'm very hopeful. So those are the big 2 stories. Just in little blips of news, we got our official title for Knives Out 2, which is going to be The Glass Onion. I enjoyed Knives Out. It wasn't quite the revelation it was for others. For me, I really, really liked it, but I'm such a Rian Johnson fan. I love Last Jedi. I love Brick. I love everything he's done. So it was kind of weird. I kind of felt like my expectations were for the movie we got. And then other people were like, oh my God, Knives Out. And I was like, you guys know Rian Johnson's a genius, right? Like, it was just a great movie. Whereas I think it took people aback.
Right.
Which I really, I'm curious about this next one. And it is going to be coming out this holiday season on Netflix, which I just keep forgetting it was a Netflix movie to begin with because it was so big.
Wait. It was?
It was released in theaters, but it was a Netflix joint. It's literally a Netflix film.
Oh, yeah. We saw that in theaters.
Right?
I don't think I realized it wasn't a...
Isn't that weird to think about?
Shit, that was... but it was like a wide theater release.
Huge.
It wasn't like a typical Netflix
Not like
theater.
an Egyptian or whatever.
Well, it wasn't like they just wanted to do that so they can get Oscar noms.
Right. It legit got a run.
Or any noms, yeah.
So yeah, it's a Netflix joint. So it'll be out this holiday season.
And it is like only the detectives are coming back. Because it has nothing to do with the family. It's completely, it's a new mystery.
Daniel Craig is back.
That's my hope. My hope is that that we're not getting Jamie Lee Curtis and we're not getting the family.
As far as I know, it is just I think it's just Daniel Craig.
Well, no, because I'm sure Lakeith
Stanfield?
Yeah,
I don't know. It could be like Poirot, where it's
right
because it's based off Poirot,
and he could be in a completely different city working with a new local department. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe I'm wondering if it even gets a theater run because Knives Out they paid so much for the sequel because Rian Johnson did like a mega 6-figure deal for this second one. Right. So I'm very curious. So yeah, Daniel Craig. The cast is pretty bananas. The cast is Catherine Hahn, Janelle Monáe, Kate Hudson, Edward Norton, Leslie Odom Jr., Dave Bautista, Madeline Klein, Jessica Henwick, and Ethan Hawke.
Wow.
So we don't need anybody else. That's crazy.
You know what? I kind of wish you didn't do that because that's spoilers. Because we all know that Ethan Hawke is in his villain phase. So it's clearly he was the murderer.
Along. Dude, I did an escape room haunted house for the Black Phone.
Okay.
And they had a guy so impressively. Like his physicality was so good in hockey.
Right.
And so you go into a room and he just comes in and he just I felt like I was in a Scooby-Doo escape because I had to hide behind plants and stuff like a child. But I was fully terrified. I wasn't thinking just outside is LA. I was going this man's going to kill me.
Right.
And then at one point, there was a clue that was to go out. It was multiple rooms. You had to leave the room and come back in, which was really smart because it made it more immersive.
Sure.
I had to leave the room, find a bunch of clues that led to a magic shop, which was across the street. They bought property.
Wow, that's
and
fun.
then I was across the street and then it led me back to a different room that opened up once I was back where I was.
That's really fun.
And then they had me to the point where they had me go out into an alleyway, which was just supposed to be me acknowledging the alleyway and then turning right. But when I looked left, his shoes were on the other end of the door. So I got so scared that I thought I might have to jump in the dumpster. But the dumpsters were not props. They were actually dumpsters. So I opened the dumpster and was starting to go through trash looking for clues. And later on, Universal was like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, we had to take that out because we were afraid more people would do that.
Yeah,
I literally pulled out a banana peel.
Those were just dumpsters.
So then I go back inside.
You grab garbage. You're like, oh, this has numbers on it. It's actually
means this.
It's actually somebody's social security number.
I found credit cards. I'm reading them out loud. I'm ruining the whole thing. But then the last room is dope because at one point you have to poison the killer to make him fall asleep.
Okay.
So you have to pour powder into a Coke can. And I found one of those special Coke cans in the dumpster, which is why I thought it was part of it, but they just thrown out a prop. Anyway, so he's knocked out in the last room. And he's with his back to you, and you have to grab a key out of his hand, like a good Scooby-Doo mystery. So it's terrifying.
That's scary.
Dude, so scary. And then you got to go across the end of the room, and there's a trap set up with all these bells, and you have to crawl through this,
to not ring.
So I'm with two other dudes and one of the Universal reps going through this bell maze, and as soon as you open the door, obviously homeboy's gonna wake up. So I take the position of crawling because it's low, and I assume
military crawl.
Everyone else is doing the acrobatic going through.
No, you can't do the.
I committed.
They were trying to do what's her name, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
No one can.
In what was the name of that movie? You know what I'm talking about, right?
What was that? It was
know what I'm talking about with the lasers.
The 2000s entrapment.
Yeah, they were trying to do some entrapment.
So the door opens and they can run out looking like regular people. There's video of me. I'm literally Frogger crawling out the door because it's. I know they're using that footage.
Perfect.
It was magical. But yeah, Ethan Hawke in his villain phase, I support. I'm very excited for the Black Phone and Scott's next follow-up. Last two little bits of news are we had our Lightyear premiere this week, and it was absolutely lovely. We're going to talk about that a little on the Patreon pod. But I will tell you guys, I'm a giant Toy Story fan. I rewatched all four leading up to this.
I saw that.
And
I was bummed because I want to, because I still have yet to see 4.
Ever?
Have not seen 4 yet.
Wow.
It came out when I think when we were together and we never saw it, and then it was it came to Disney. It's just
try to catch it before Lightyear.
It was one of the things that added on. Well, I guess it would, but it's one of those things that would add to our list, and it's a billion other things we just haven't gotten to yet. And then you do that thing where you go on for so long, and then I just remember 3. In my opinion, Toy Story 3. I know a lot of people didn't really dig it, but
I think it's the best one. It's now that we watched them,
heartbreak. It's I wept so hard in that movie so often. It was so good. It was so well made.
Actually, I think technically the first one's my favorite, but they're so close.
Right. But it made me go well, crap. Now, I was remembering how good Toy Story 3 was. And I thought to myself, well, if now the buzz is coming out, maybe I want to watch this further. Then I saw you go do that, and I was like, oh, I want to watch Toy Story movies.
Dude, they're only 90 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
I know it's hard to make when you're.
Well, I'm just gonna have to do them without Alexandra. Just don't tell her.
Okay, she won't hear us in the other room.
No, she can't hear us.
It's 6 hours, dude. That's one Batman movie.
I get it.
All 4 of them. But rewatching them was magic. But Lightyear itself was a really special experience because it was one of the first carpets I went on where a lot of the people were fans of the thing they were making from when they were kids.
Right.
So
especially because it's a lot of voice work.
Exactly.
So it's not just we cast
Yeah.
You know, we cast like this dude who looks like this, and he's
They
like
just got
this
to be
actor who doesn't really care what he's in. He just happened to be working.
These people were all so invested. It was
Right.
so cool. And Chris brought his mom to the premiere. Chris Evans, who I'd never met, who grew up 20 minutes from me. So I finally got to meet Cap. But we literally talked about Boston on the carpet, and then he's like, "My mom's from Somerville. She's here." So I met Chris Evans' mom, and we talked about like him growing up with Toy Story.
Yeah,
so it was a really intimate. Like, this is really special for all of us here.
I'm struggling to remember what year did Toy Story come out.
95.
That is insane to me.
Yeah.
I am such an old fogey that I still think of like Toy Story, that new Pixar type of technology.
That was the first Pixar movie.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think of that like, oh yeah, well, like Pixar's
new.
Pixar is kind of new.
So Chris's birthday is
crazy.
today. Let's see what year is he? Because that would be how old was he when that came out? Let's see. Hold on, because I'm very curious.
I mean, he's got to be older than me by a lot because he's such a grown man, and
you're not.
Oh boy, I don't even want to know how old he is.
He was born in 81.
All right, so he's 1 year older than me.
So
I'm sorry, 2 years older than me. I'll take that.
So he was 14, which is perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
So he got to be 4, and now he gets to play. Like, imagine being 14 and then playing the character you literally were like, that's so rad.
That's fantastic.
And he was just so like glowy in a different way. And it's also rad to see him get to talk about something else. Because I feel for the dude.
It's also like probably so much less pressure.
Yeah.
Than most of the other projects that he has to do press for.
And he's a Disney like junkie. So he's glowing talking about the rides and stuff that I don't even know.
Right.
And getting to not be like, okay, comic scrutiny. Like, he doesn't have to worry about people like me.
Exactly. It's like fan scrutiny, and also just like even the other projects he does, like, I don't know, there's something about an animated movie which costs, you know, $1 bajillion in animation.
Yeah.
But that it feels a lot less like, hey man, like this whole thing is riding on you.
It's not your face,
it's
even
not
if it's your voice.
Yeah. Because like,
you know?
Because there's something about like an actor's equity.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, this didn't work. Where it's like, yeah, there are really good animated movies with bad vocal performances.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And vice versa.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it must be much more fun for him.
The whole carpet, once we were on the carpet, felt like fun. It felt like a family thing. Right, versus some carpets stay like, this is important.
Sure,
like there's a certain like
self-entitlement.
Yeah, there was none of that. And it was also like Pixar, like the experience of a Pixar movie is always magical. Right. And you kind of got that on the red carpet.
I got questions.
What do you got?
Because you went to the premiere for this.
Yeah, after party was dope because it was a carnival like Toy Story 4.
Okay. At the premiere,
yeah,
it's all the industry invites. It's all the press.
Right.
It's all the U's. Is there also just like, do people bring their kids?
So this was, because it was really special.
I always think to myself, like, if I was, you know, Chris Evans, I'd be like, oh, I want like my nephews and nieces.
Oh
to
yeah,
come.
tons of family were there. Yeah,
yeah.
Like at the Chippendale premiere, I met Jake Johnson's kid, which was really weird because I don't think of him having a kid. So my brain was like, oh right,
no, Nick Miller should not have children.
Right, it's just like I'm like, oh wait, you're an actor. This is irresponsible. Right. But like my brain is like irresponsible Jake Johnson. Perfectly great dad. But yeah, I met like a lot of like, you know, kid running around. And there's also this kid that cosplays at every Marvel event named Logan, who dressed like Buzz Lightyear. And then Chris remembered him as Cap. So it was a really special moment of him like connecting that.
You.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like that energy. And then in the theater, there's like a jubilance of the specialness is not just the premiere, but it's also like kids experiencing a story.
Because I do feel like that's one of those movies where if you see it in a theater full of like mixed age kids or mixed age humans, I should say, it is kind of a dice roll.
100%.
Because sometimes it can go really bad.
This was responsible kids, which I liked. Because like I heard cheering and stuff. And at one point there was a baby crying, lasted 30 seconds. Like it was like, this is the premiere. This is not a thing.
There was, I think one of the most recent memory I have of a kids movie that I saw in the theaters was Favreau's Jungle Book. Mm-hmm. And I love it so much. It has one misstep, one part of the movie that shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. But with the exception of that one part, it's, in my opinion, an insanely perfect movie. Like it's so good.
John Favreau, so consistent.
And it's special for me for two reasons. One is I saw it with like all of my nieces, which is always, I don't have a ton of movies that I took, like I can say I went to them with, and that's one of them. And my brother was also there, and his, you know, like the parents. It wasn't just me and the little girls. Yeah. It was also like the family. But I remember like hearing the kids in the theater, like reacting the way that you're supposed to react to terrifying things as a kid.
Yeah.
But not in a way where it was just a bunch of kids talking.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like a lot of that, you know, that the oohing and the eyeing without the like kid behind you, there's a kid who's constantly telling his mom like that he's gonna get it. He's gonna go down that like it's that thing that kids do where they just narrate.
Yeah, they're talking you through the journey you're watching.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so glad that I had a good kid audience in this movie because it made the movie even more special.
That was Lightyear, and also Chippendale.
Yeah.
And I this sounds so pretentious, but I'm trying to see less and less movies at press screenings because press is so judgmental. They're there to critique. Right. So the whole time you just have this energy of like people writing notes, and I'm just like, but there's art here. Like you've helped me with my content art thing.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite at a press screening because the whole time people are just like, I want to find flaws for my piece, and then they come out and they're talking in the lobby, and I'm like, but we just got to watch a movie.
Right,
I had a great time. Right. And then there's also people that think I just like everything. That's not true, but if I don't like something, I'm not going to invest in it. So I'll just leave after, but these people are like, I'm going to have this goss.
Sure.
And so I love premieres because it's the artists that made the art.
It's a celebration more than the presentation.
So I've been lobbying like people, premieres are a lot of work. You got to get dressed. It's a whole thing, and it's your whole night. So people get like a lot of people I work with are like, why do you always go to these premieres? I'm like, because I want to have the art shown, not the scrutiny shown. Also, and Lightyear was a perfect example. Also,
at a time where, the discourse of whether things are good or bad are at an all-time fever pitch, there's something about a premiere being the best possible experience.
Absolutely.
For even a bad movie to be really fun.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
At minimum, everyone's happy.
We made it.
Yeah. Like it came out.
It sucks, but guess what? We did it.
Check the gate.
We did it.
Like it's done.
Did it.
Yeah.
Every movie's a miracle.
It really
is. Even
is.
when they're awful.
And I can appreciate
Tiptoes
that.
is a miracle.
And Tiptoes probably had a great premiere. I wish I was there.
Yeah. Justice League, a miracle.
Probably a great premiere.
I mean, not as good as Tiptoes.
Sure. But what really is Gary Oldman, Matt McConaughey? What really is? I don't know if you saw, I tweeted, if we talked about art like joyously as much as we critique it on Twitter.
I saw that.
And I literally got inundated with like, but criticism is important. I was like, I literally posited we have them in equal measure. Like I got more crap for that tweet. And I'm like,
also,
guys.
You followed it up with a listing of your favorite Jurassic Park movies.
Oh, I mean, of course.
Which means that then you said these ones are bad, these ones are good. In theory, do you know what I mean? Like, so like anybody who looks at that and just goes like,
I'm acknowledging there are flaws.
Blanket statement is, people are dumb.
It was insane. I just couldn't believe that people were mad at me for saying, hey, let's have, I mean,
because you live on the internet.
I do live on the internet. Speaking of, I mean, fucking, I'd love to. Believe me, I'm fighting for that Ellen spot. I want to get, because Ellen's not tweeting.
I wouldn't fight for the Ellen spot. I get what you're saying.
I want the single name, show, but not Ellen.
But maybe, maybe
Kimmel.
like
I'm fighting for that Kimmel spot.
Maybe, well, no, don't. Maybe just say like the spot that Ellen used to occupy.
Right, but
because it sounds like you just want to be an abusive boss.
I want to respect my crew. I want to know all their names and I want to love them. That's why I didn't say Corden. I want to know my team and I want them to be great and happy. But yeah, and last bit of news for you lovelies. Justin Lin, who just exited the Fast 10 Part 1 and 2, is directing One Punch Man. I've never read One Punch Man, but it is a giant
Everybody
anime.
Loves it.
It's one of the most revered animes.
I feel like you and I are like, our Venn diagrams are very weird, but our anime one is identical.
Very similar.
We're identical.
Where we hear about it.
We know the exact same things.
Yep.
And we have we have not seen the exact same.
This feels like a high five for a lot of people that aren't us. I want to celebrate them. Look at them go.
One Punch Man.
Justin Lin, I think is going to be great because he's an incredible director. I think this is a great way for people like you and I to be like, I'll investigate some One Punch Man.
Right.
So maybe this is the way I do end up this giant anime getting exposed to it. So he left Fast. I think this confirms he's not coming back. They've replaced him with Louis D'Esposito, one of the producers over at Marvel, which is really interesting because he's a producer who has directed. He did Transporter. He did a bunch of those things, but he hasn't made movies in a bit. He's been producing. So I'm really curious how much studio is directing the Fast movies because they hired a producer that was a director. And the fact that Vin
it's like a puppet.
Yeah.
They literally
I'm very worried.
Get a puppet.
Let's have a guy that's going to be billed.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, we're going to wrap up with some comic book recommendations for you lovelies. For the last 2 weeks, told you guys I was going to catch up 2 weeks at a time. I'm almost caught up. My favorite books from the last week of May were Adventure Man number 9, Amazing Spider-Man number 2. That finally turned around for me. The first issue was god-awful. Second issue I liked enough to make my top 10. Hoping issue 3 is more like 2. Batman Beyond, The White Knight number 3. Department of Truth number 11. Devil's Reign Omega number 1. Harley Quinn 15, Legion of X number 1. A good jumping on point there. This is fun. This is it involves Legion, the character, the David Haller character, Xavier's son, but also kind of a if you're immortal and if we have our own government, what is religion crisis for Kurt?
So that sentence was too hard for me to follow.
So
start over.
The X-Men are currently immortal. They've solved the problem of death.
Okay.
So they can come back as much as they want in Krakoa.
Okay.
So it's Kurt having a crisis of like, wait, if we're immortal, then what is religion?
What is real? Okay, got it.
And we've founded this whole thing that doesn't have religion.
Sure.
Who am I? So it's a really cool
look
at stuff that you and
especially for that character, because that's such a good character for that.
So him and David Haller, and Haller's obviously all powerful. So it's really cool, like play with them too. Pearl 3, number 1. That sounds confusing, but it's the 3rd volume of Pearl, a 6-issue series, volume 1, volume 2. This is volume 3, probably going to be 6 issues as well. One of my favorite runs in comics is Pearl. She is a Yakuza assassin who has albino pale skin, who has tons and tons of white tattoos. So when she's angry, embarrassed, or flushed, you see all of her markings.
Right.
Beautiful work. The artist behind Jessica Jones's first run, the writer as well, Brian Michael Bendis. Nice. And it's this really cool female empowerment by way of organized crime in Japan story, which is not a market I read a lot of. So it's a really cool tale. Pearl, check it out. Punisher number 3. I didn't think I'd like this book because it's that silly symbol, but they're doing a really good job making that symbol work.
But it is a symbol that is appropriate for what the story that 100%. They're telling is.
It's 100% appropriate.
I don't get why it's silly. I think it's cool. They took an Oni and then they took the
Punisher
skull and they made sense.
It just doesn't quite, the visual doesn't quite work for me. But that's because I'm such a Punisher. Like,
but
the
still,
so
it's a weird argument.
I mean, I'm not mad. I'm reading it. Not mad at it.
Yeah.
I'm not tweeting. Saga number 59. I don't even have to explain that one. Something is Killing the Children 23 are my favorites from the last week of May. The first week of June, my favorite books were Action Comics Annual 2022, Black Panther number 6, Captain Marvel 38, Carnage number 3, Closet number 1. This is a new indie book from James Tynion IV. Talk about him quite a bit. This is a book where this family's moving and this kid is just laying in bed looking at the closet. You have this classic, like, nothing's in the closet, nothing's gonna hurt you. And then as soon as the parent leaves, the light starts to change color and this terrifying like alien creature comes out and the little girl starts saying like, it's coming with us. And there's this horrific imagery and then it goes to like them moving and you don't know whether the girl's right or if they're right. And it's kind of the thing we all feared as kids, but they capture the fear of your closet fear. So it feels like Stranger Things. Like it's like reading Stranger Things.
Did you have closet fear as a kid?
I had under bed fear.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I would not fuck with a limb over the bed.
I did not have closet fear.
But like,
I had under the bed fear.
Even if it was full.
Feet hanging off the edge. No, thank you.
Arm too close.
Yeah. Did not dig under the bed. And then this is a weird ass tangent. Do you remember the cartoon Cat Dog?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
One fine day with a wolf and a purr.
I had a cat dog like plushie that if you squeezed, it's like went like cat dog. Like wasn't that like the song? Right. Yeah. And at one point when I was like too old to be afraid of things, you know, like if we're being honest, too old to be afraid of things. I had, and it was just like in my closet, like in a pile of crap in the back, and every now and then it would just go off.
That would fuck me up.
And even as an adult, but it's not like things shifted and it got pushed on. Like every now and then it would just go off. So my door to my closet would be closed. I'd be lying in bed. It'd be 2 a.m. I would just hear like, cat dog, cat dog.
That song is a horror song for you now.
And I'm sure there were other sayings, but then I developed closet fear, but it was also mostly just ghost fear.
That's also like fair. You had a poltergeist pressing your cat dog. Also, campfire is strong cat dog energy.
It does have strong cat dog energy. Also, sidebar to the sidebar, because that reminds me of a very silly thing. As we were moving, we've been obviously everything is in boxes still. We haven't unboxed a lot of stuff.
Sure,
but all of our tabletop games that are in boxes,
the most of anyone I know.
It's in one of those boxes is a game that has a timer that goes off.
Oh no! How many times?
But it's like in the middle of the box, and so every time you shift something hits it, and it goes quick. No. It's like a tick 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 tick.
God, that's ominous.
Tick, and it goes for 30 seconds, and then it gets faster. Tick 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 tick. It's like the timer that when you're like answering a question, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, the tension.
It's like a categories or something, one of those sort of things. And every night it's just been going off constantly as we move.
Because moves are tense enough.
But it's like we have a bomb
at all times. You're carrying around because moves are like nice and relaxed.
And we still haven't unboxed it. I can only assume that the batteries have died.
I mean, it must have.
Because
what's the weirdest thing you found moving? Like what's something you're like, I didn't know I still had that.
Okay, all right. I just told Alexandra about this. So since this is tangential to tangential. Alexandra said like, hey, I did the kitchen, but I couldn't reach the cabinets above the fridge. Can you check to see what's in there?
Yeah.
I can even show you a picture. I opened it and it was literally just like a pop culture shit. that used to be in the kitchen that ended up being put elsewhere. So if you look closely, you'll zoom in. There's the Krusty-O's box from 7-Eleven. There is a Rowdy Piper soda that is, of course, bubblegum flavored.
Of course.
There are maple scissor and props that I made for Kevin Smith's Wake and Bake show because I was a production designer on that show. So there's also a box of I forget what the cereal was called, but they're like it's the hockey player on them.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, so it's a bunch of this stuff. But as I was digging through this, I pulled out something that made me laugh, and you can kind of see it. It's sticking out there in plastic, right? It's that silver thing.
Yep.
I pulled it out. It is an oversized Yogurt Land plastic spoon that's like this big.
Okay.
Because and I remembered the day like it was yesterday. The second I saw that, and I forgot we did it. We used to go to Yogurt Land so much that one day Alexandra and I were there, and the guy working there, this kid, teenager, was like, "Hey, so you guys are now platinum members." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you've earned enough points, and you've come so much that like you're like because you get like a membership card and everything nowadays has like a rewards."
It works.
And he was like, yeah. It's like, so you're going to get like a new thing in the mail and you get like extra rewards. Right. And I was like, oh, cool. That's fantastic. He's like, also, I'm supposed to give you, nobody wants this. Do you want this? I'm supposed to give you this. No one takes it. And it's this oversized, it looks like
a platinum spoon.
Like a platinum spoon, like the sort of thing you would get if you got like a key to the city, like an oversized key.
That's incredible.
And it's, how their spoons are that very specific shape and it has their specific little logo on it. And I was like, I absolutely want that. And
I would want it.
The guy I remember the teenager being like, this guy's fucking weird. And I was
member.
holding it. I was like, I'm a platinum Yogurt Land.
That's an Instagram post. I can see it. I'm proud of you. That's fantastic.
In fact, it was an Instagram post.
Good.
I'm pretty sure that I sent a picture. I posted a picture of it years ago. I would immediately,
right now. I'm excited for it. Well, that kid's a fool.
So that's my favorite thing I found.
Getting older is being proud of platinum, but Yogurt Land.
We did box up a lot of stuff and ended up in storage.
Oh yeah.
So the boxing of stuff, like our discoveries, are gonna come later.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because we're gonna do a storage unit day. Yeah.
I'm very curious what tops platinum membership.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then we got Firepower 21, Ghost Rider 3, The Nice House on the Lake number 9, and Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 8, which is maybe the most brutal book I've read in 10 years. That is going to do it for Comic Rex. That is actually going to do it for this episode. We said at the top it's going to have to be a little shorter. We don't have hotline calls because we do not have internet.
Because I didn't have internet, so I couldn't download your calls. So as Coy said, we're not going to be here next week. But the week after it'll be business as usual.
Yep.
So we'll do some news, but we'll split the hotline up. So you can feel free to keep calling. But if you called before this week, we didn't just ignore you. I literally didn't have internet.
Expect a sizable hotline.
Sure.
Week.
And of course, we got to give props to our current unpunchable gift horse of the month, Jacob Wood, aka Hold My Brick, who gave us.
Can't punch this.
I hate that you did that. Also, we can't pay for that. Don't do that again. I don't want to get sued. I hear Hammer's litigious.
Yeah, that's fair, actually.
So,
great pants, though.
He gave us what he would like us to watch. We have yet to get to last month's Gills only because of all the hecticness. We'll get to your, don't
Promise.
worry. And that's always, of course, on the Patreon only pod.
Yeah.
Which there will be a brief one this week because we do need to kind of keep it short, but we won't be one next week. But 2 weeks from now, business as usual.
Back in action. We just didn't want to leave you guys without 2 weeks, so we'll be back in 2. But from here. Just felt wrong to start the month without some checking in.
Start the month. We're in the middle of the month.
You know what? The thing about months is I'm bad at time. Well, that's going to do it for this week, you lovelies. We'll be back in 2 weeks to catch up before con season begins. Basically, it's about to kick off, and Jake and I are going to try to scheme what our July looks like, and hopefully by then he's seen Top Gun Maverick, as well as some other summer stuff. And I'll hopefully talk with him about Stranger Things and a few other things we both love. See if he's watched all the Toy Stories.
So much.
Dude,
There's so
I'm
much
actually
TV.
behind.
We've got Boys. We've got Ms. Marvel. We've got Stranger Things. We've got Barry. There's like so much good television on right now. I just
caught up on The Boys, and I'm a huge hour and 40-minute episode behind of Stranger Things. So it's a lot, and that's what I do for work. So I can't imagine people that are operating as humans do.
We also haven't had internet for the last 4 weeks. We haven't been able to stream anything because we're not doing it on our phone.
No, because you respect art.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. Hear that, folks that watch things on their phones? I still love you, but I question your integrity. All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I appreciate you very much. Please do rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Check out koicast.com for merch. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks. Check out the Patreon if you want over 100 episodes of pure art celebration. We don't generally talk about things we don't like. Occasionally it happens, and that's where you'll find it, because we're honest over in the Patron pod, because you have earned that right. But overall, we are very excited about most art, and we dive into that for over 100 episodes in the Patron only pod. And this week, you'll be hearing what I thought of some of the new stuff like Jurassic World and Lightyear, and we'll get to that as we go along. Check us out on social media. Use hashtag KoiCast to get our attention. I'm at Koi Jondro. He's at Jake Lloyd Bacon. And as ever, you can call 818-794-0722. That's 818-794-0722 to get your hot and hotline heavy calls in, or you can send a voice memo to contact@koicast.com. Met a few of you KoiCast listeners at Star Wars Celebration, and it warmed my heart. It's so cool to know folks are running around that actually listen to the show, because it's just us yelling to microphones. And as always, Robin West Parker is just crushing it. Ran into Robin at the Lightyear premiere. Robin's first premiere got a signed thing from Chris. Got to like hang out at the after party, and I was just so happy for Robin. Like Robin was thriving. Awesome. So made me real happy to see. And and Robin got me Deadly Class Volume 2, the big oversized beast of a book.
Oh, nice.
So really excited to dive into both of those once I have free time again. But he did warn that he thinks that I'm starting to get rewarded for getting sick, so he's going to try to watch that.
Are you planning on doing any comic reading on the plane?
That's a great idea. That's a fantastic
idea. Because that's the best.
Yeah, and I love actual tangible books on the plane. Like, that's the move. There it is. Volume 1's coming with me. All right, you lovelies, we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you, as always, to Comic Books for existing.
Hey everybody, Jake here from Dragon Wagon Radio, and I'm here with Mark E. Extreme and Skeeter Skyflyer.
Did you just have to read that? Okay, I mean, no. How could you possibly not know who I am? Because my name is Mark Extreme, 15 plus years undefeated backyard wrestling entertainment champion and owner and the host of On Your Mark. So I'm offended that you don't know who I am, and I'm here with the on my shoulder.
As Skeeter Skyflyer. I mean, a lot of people don't know me, but it makes sense that people don't know you too.
Look, everybody. I'm a pretty big deal, okay?
Well, I mean no disrespect, Mr. Extreme, I assure you, but you mentioned you have a podcast on the network called On Your Mark. What exactly is On Your Mark?
On Your Mark is the best wrestling podcast on the airwaves. Every Wednesday, we are deep diving into wrestling topics, like giving you a perspective like you've never heard before, because there's nobody that can give you a perspective like I can.
Well, a lot of people could give the perspective that you give on wrestling, but they're busy being wrestlers and being really successful in the ring and working and being in front of millions of people every week on television and in a crowd.
There's nothing different.
All right, I think I get what's happening. It's comedy. You guys are just doing a bit. Mark, you're like every 90s wrestling kid stuck in the past. And Skeeter, you're like the idiot little brother type who just loves everything, no matter how cheesy it is. I get it. You're playing characters. You guys are like a pro wrestling version of Jimmy Glick or Tony Clifton.
Well, I don't know who the hell those guys are. And, frankly, I'm kind of offended because I take this business very seriously, and there's nothing funny about what we do, right, Skeeter?
That's right. So tune in every Wednesday. A new episode drops weekly, covering new topics on OnYourMarkShow.com. Also, wherever you're listening to your podcast right now.
It's Dragon Wagon.